Yeah, before we start talking about the actual races, what we think might happen this weekend, something I think we should touch base on. I know y'all already wrote an article that is live on the site now about it, but in your opinion, do you think there are any at-large team selections, any teams that got snubbed from getting an at-large team selection for NXN this weekend?
Do you want to start with this?
Yeah, we've kind of talked about it a couple times throughout the past few weeks. I think Franklin still kind of got a little snubbed. They were the Oregon state champions. I want to say it was Class 6A there. Regardless, they were the Oregon state champions, and then they ended up taking third in the region, just missing it. They definitely did not have a great race at the regions, but I think they had a great race at state. I think they would be a team that would add to the field. They'd be really strong. Their speed ratings, I think, were better than El Paso Eastwood, who did make it. And, maybe their resume is a little weak because I don't think they traveled too far outside of their region, is where El Paso Eastwood did go to Woodbridge and they did go to Desert Twilight. But they finished, I want to say, 6th and 7th at those meets. Again, not their best outing. They've come on super strong towards the end of the year. So I kind of understand that. And then I think also Severna Park, Severna. I keep saying it wrong. Severna Park is comparable to Eastwood speed rating wise. So they maybe got slightly snubbed as well. And I understand you can't take all the teams. You got to kind of figure out who's running well when it counts. And, El Paso Eastwood getting a bid, good for them. They're starting to come on strong.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned Franklin didn't run well at the regions, because you look at the overall team average of speed ratings from that event, it's a 176. El Paso Eastwood from the NXR South is a 158.8. So region to region, Franklin still ran better than Eastwood. Actually, one of the top speed rated performances of those bottom two, the bottom 5 teams that were considered. Portland Franklin ran a 180 combined team speed rating average at Oregon State Championship, second only behind Dana Hills. Dana Hills had a good season. I think they deserve to get in. That much isn't questioned, but I agree with you. I think Franklin, looking at the results, while they didn't travel, they competed against a lot of teams that were really, really talented. They beat Jesuit once. They finished second to Jesuit by 1 point at Ash Creek early in the season, and then they dominated Jesuit at the Oregon State Championships. And they also beat Camas at Nike Portland, and Camas eventually, won and emerged at the Washington State Championship meet, according in time. So I think, Franklin, in my mind, I think is just the team that I'm flubbed. I don't know why they didn't get in.
Yeah, I was kind of perplexed by that as well. And I think also Downington West would have added to the field a little bit too. They're kind of the same thing as Severna Park.
Yeah.
So, they're kind of in the same boat. I think the big problem with Downington West is they were beaten up a little bit at Manhattan. Those teams from the Northeast region kind of beat up on each other throughout the New England's, throughout Connecticut state championships and things like that. There's a couple Connecticut teams that beat up on each other. So obviously, we are where we're at on the guys' side. But I think it's going to be a strong field regardless.
It'll still be good. It'll still be good. Girls' side, it actually came down to fourth place teams when they were deciding on their fourth at-large bid. And it seems like it came down to Portland Lincoln, which had a really good season, and Cherry Creek High School in Colorado, which finished fourth at NXR Southwest. And end of the day, if everything is even, I think you kind of take the team that you think will do better at NXN, and I think that's what happened here. But it kind of discounts the whole logic behind NXN and the selection procedure, which they have on their site, which they say that they value wins against regional champions or runners up, and Cherry Creek had those at Roy Griak. They beat Edina, and they also beat Naperville North. Now, Cherry Creek wasn't as healthy at the end of the season, which led to a second place performance at Colorado State Championships and a fourth place outing here at NXR Southwest. But even with that, they were still comparable to Portland Lincoln. They have one of the best girls in Riley Stewart that could be an All-American, and it's one of those things. I think Cherry Creek did enough this season to get a bid, but they just weren't given it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think with Riley Stewart winning, she's already there as an individual. So, I guess maybe from a committee standpoint, it's like, do they need the team? I understand the team adds to it. It's just like an interesting fact. And I think they would have, to be honest, too, because, obviously, like you said, they were banged up. But I think that loss to Arapahoe kind of hurt them at the state.
Oh, yeah, for
like,
sure.
That definitely
for
was
sure.
probably one of the things, like, man, they lost to Arapahoe. And
yeah.